Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. We'll talk to Congressman Ed Pastor about what's going on in Congress right now, as well as his decision to retire. And the ASU Hispanic Convocation celebrates its 30th anniversary. All this coming up straight ahead on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thank you for joining us. Earlier this year, Congressman Ed Pastor, the first Hispanic from Arizona elected to Congress and the senior member of the state's House delegation, announced his retirement after 23 years in Washington. Ed Pastor took office in 1991 after a special election to replace Mo Udall, who had resigned due to health problems. The 7th Congressional District encompasses much of South and Central Phoenix. Here now is Congressman Ed Pastor. Congressman, welcome back to Horizonte.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you very much.
You've been a frequent guest over the years, and
Thank
it's
you
been
very
an
much.
honor and a pleasure to have you here.
I think that's what helped me get elected for the last...
Well, I can't claim credit for that, but
you made me look good.
well, I don't think you need my help at all for that, but we do hope to have you back to do a more in-depth
Sure, thank you,
retrospective.
and that would be... I would love to do it, so the answer is yes.
Well, we'll plan on that.
But I want to correct you on one little thing.
Okay.
When I first ran in '81, we were very sensitive about the term replacing Mo Udall. As you know...
Now, I want you to know I didn't write the
No, I know you
introductory
didn't
script.
write it, but I'm just telling you...
We'll blame my producer for that one.
Well, because we knew it was a very sensitive subject, because Mo Udall is an icon in Arizona politics, and nationally is an icon in terms of politics. And so as we worked on the first campaign, it was always to succeed Mo Udall, because we never wanted to take the position that we were going to replace him, because we could never do that. And so we still think that.
Was that an issue in the campaign? I mean, were people saying, I know there were a number of people who had been rumored to be interested in running
Yes.
for that spot. I mean, did anybody feel that it was somebody else's turn, not yours?
No, it wasn't so much that, but it was that, I'll give you an example. The day that we had the primary and Pat Connors won the Republican nomination, supervisor from Yuma, and I won the nomination for the Democratic Party. One of the editorial writers of the Arizona Republic basically said, you know, what are these two clowns going to do to succeed Mo Udall? And so, I mean, in some people's minds, it was that it's going to be very difficult to replace him. And so we were very cognizant of it. And so we always talked about succeeding Mo Udall.
Well, you've certainly had a very distinguished career. As I said, we want to talk about it more in depth at some later time. But before we go on to talk about what's occupying your attention right now in Washington, why did you decide to retire?
Well, it's been 23 years, and I had been thinking about it. You know, I wanted to start thinking about retirement. I'm now 71 years old, and I've enjoyed the 23 years. But this last go-around, in terms of the harsh winter, getting stuck in airports, delays, I'd be leaving Phoenix, and it would be mild weather, and here I am in Washington, D.C. with temperatures are 8 degrees. And I just said, you know what, Ed, you know, it's time for you to be home. And so it was a combination of things. I was the travel, the years of service, and I just said it's time for me to pursue something new.
Some of your colleagues who are retiring or have stepped down in recent years have talked about a different kind of climate in Washington. They're referring to just the political atmosphere, which they feel is much more poisonous than it used to be. People aren't, the relationships aren't what they used to be between members from the two sides of the aisle. Is that part of your decision?
Well, I think things have changed. I still have great relationships with members who have been there for a number of years in both parties. So I got to tell you that there's an anchor for me there with my friendships with Republicans and Democrats who have been there for a length of time. But I think what has happened is that you now have 24 hours, 7 days a week, dependent on the TV channel that you want to look at, the particular ideology that you want to believe in, or the ideology you think is the correct one. And so now you have more and more members who you can predict are going to be in this particular television show or in that particular, so that the campaign for them never stops, and it goes on in the House floor and it goes on into relationships. Also, you'll find that members don't spend a lot of time in D.C. First day of voting, they show up, and as soon as the last vote is cast, people are on the airplane, and so you don't have the socialization that I experienced before in the members' dining room, and so it makes it more difficult today to develop friendships or develop relationships.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on right now that's going to be the subject of your attention. You mentioned off camera one of the big issues, perhaps the big issue, is something that I think a lot of Americans have forgotten about, and that's the funding of the government. That still has to be resolved.
Yes. Last year, when Patty Murray and Congressman Ryan met, and they came out with even though we didn't have a budget, they came in agreement to a number of what should be the number that government should, the level of funding for the government. And so earlier this year, we basically finished the funding for 2014. Because Ryan Murray also gave us a number for 2015, the appropriation process is it's on its way. And so you have the 13 subcommittees meeting, having hearings, marking up their bills. Some of the committees have gone to the whole committee and have passed the bill from the whole committee and have gone to the floor. We have already passed 2 bills out of the House floor, military construction and Veterans Affairs and legislative service. And so you see that happening. So I think the anticipation and the goal is that at the end of September or maybe into November, that we will pass an omnibus bill that'll fund the government for 2015.
So you don't expect another shutdown?
Well, no, that's not the expectation, because I think we do have the Senate and the House and the Republicans and the Democrats agreeing to a number, and so we're now going down that path. So that the anticipation is that we'll have an omnibus bill sometime at the end of the year, so that 2015 is funded and we don't have any continuing resolution or government shutdown.
What about immigration? When Speaker Boehner announced that immigration was dead earlier in the year, everybody believed him, took him at his word, and yet there now seems to be a lot of discussion about an imminent deal, at least one by summer.
Well, I don't know if it's by summer, but I think what has happened, and by the end of probably June, you're going to have the majority of the Republican primaries would have been held. And so now most of the people who would have faced a Republican primary in which immigration reform would have been an issue, they've passed that stage. And so now possibly they can deal with it without having to worry about some of their incumbents being saddled with dealing with immigration reform. So that's a possibility. Bills have been marked up already by the Republican conference, and so I think the issue that is still remaining, but I'm told that Majority Leader Cantor has a great interest in, is what do we do with the undocumented in terms of a status that would allow them to stay here.
I saw an interview that Congressman Luis Gutierrez gave on Univision, where he basically said that the president's message to the Republicans is, if you don't do it, I will. And that he was trying to get them to act sometime this year. Is that your understanding of what's going on?
Well, I don't know whether, I know that there's pressure on the president, but I don't know what he can do by executive order. There are limitations, and I'm sure there'll be some pushback on what he can do with executive order. He did, obviously, DACA, and there are some judicial procedures that ICE has more flexibility in determining whether or not a person should be here. But I don't know, and I don't think the president right now is inclined to do an executive order and how far it could go. I think that he understands there's limitations. Some people may see it that way, but I think he's still going to push to have an immigration bill come out of the House and have a conference with the Senate.
How optimistic are you that we will have comprehensive immigration reform this year?
Well, I mean, the conference leader, Congresswoman Rogers, and she's the head of the conference, Republican conference, recently in her home state said that there was a possibility. And so some of the leadership today is talking about that there's a possibility. And so that provides some optimism in terms that it might be done.
Congressman, one of those other issues that's perhaps reflective of the deep partisan divide in Congress these days is Benghazi. It's been in the news a lot, this committee that's being formed. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if, well, I voted against the bill, I'll put it that way, because I felt that a true oversight committee would have balance between both parties. And this is skewed too much to the Republican side. The Democrats are very limited to witnesses they can bring, to evidence. And so if you look at the working of the Oversight Committee, you begin to wonder how fair is it and how much do they expect to have. The other problem is that I think for the past 2 years, we've had a number of hearings in different committees, and the same information comes up, but we haven't been able to get new ground. And so I don't know what new ground or what new evidence this oversight committee, and so by the formation of it, how it's formed, how it's going to, the procedure of it, you begin to wonder whether or not it's more political than it is fact-finding.
So some critics have labeled it a political witch hunt. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think there's a possibility that if you look at it, how it's made up and how it's going to proceed, that you can find those overtones there.
Let's talk a little bit about elections. First, generally, and then I want to focus in a little bit about the election to replace you. Some concern among the Democrats that they'll lose the Senate.
Well, there is. If you look at what happened in North Carolina, the candidate that, the Republican candidate that is expected to be the hardest one in terms to beat the incumbent, who was a Democrat, won the primary. And so that's a possibility that it's going to be more of a contest than people had expected. And the Tea Party candidate in that particular case did not win. So if you look at Iowa and some of the states in which you have the Louisiana, Alaska, Arkansas, you see that Obama had a hard time in winning those states in his presidential, and so you begin to wonder how successful the incumbents are going to be in overcoming good candidates. But like most things in life, you never know what the future is going to bring you, because 2 years ago, the expectation was that the Senate was going to flip. And some of the candidates that the Republicans nominated really weren't of the quality, and they made statements, and before you knew it, they imploded. And so you still have to run a campaign and It's going to be a tough situation, I think, for some of the Democrats in some of those states that are competitive states.
What about the House? I mean, Republicans already have a big majority.
Well, they have a big majority, and I don't see it changing. I don't think the House is going to change. I think that majority is pretty big to overcome. We'll win some seats and we'll lose some seats, but I don't think we'll overcome that large majority.
Now, your seat, I think, is considered safely Democratic.
Yes, it is. It was. It was drawn that way.
Well, and I suspect, quite frankly, Congressman, that people are saying the same thing that now that you indicated was being said back when you first ran, and that is, how do you replace an icon?
Right.
And a lot of people have decided that they can, and they're trying. You've endorsed Mary Rose Wilcox.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, I've known Mary Rose for many years. When I was in law school, she was out at ASU, and she was very active in many of the organizations that we're going to talk about later in this program. And so over the years, she was elected to the city council, and she was the first Hispana in the city council, and she did a great job there at the city council. Became a member of the County Board of Supervisors, and she's been a strong voice. She obviously took on Andrew Thomas and Sheriff Arpaio, and it cost her some harassment, and there's questions of whether or not she was burdened by some of the harassment that she got. She's been active. She's in terms of economic development for the valley. She's been there, and if you look at some of the people who are supporting her, they're some of the biggest business men and women of this community. And so I think she has the experience and has the support. So people say, well, she's too old. Well, believe me, I've been there 23 years. I know how old the members of Congress are, and she's going to fit in because she's probably younger than most of those members, and she still has the energy and fire in the belly to go back and forth. So I thought that she would make a good fit because of her experience and her desire to be in Congress.
Well, as you indicated, we will have another segment coming up shortly, and we'll be talking about the Hispanic Convocation at ASU. But thank you so much for joining us on Horizonte to talk about Congress.
Well, thank you very much.
To find out more information about what's on Horizonte, go to azpbs.org and click on the Horizonte tab at the top of the screen. There you can access many features to become a more informed Horizonte viewer. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button or by scrolling down to the bottom of the page for the most recent segments. Learn about more specific topics like arts and culture and immigration. You can also find out what's on Horizonte for the upcoming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or you want to buy a video, that's all on our website too. Other features include our collection of website links and a special page for educators. While you're there, show your support for Horizonte with just one click. Discover all that's on Horizonte. Visit azpbs.org, Horizonte today.
Tomorrow marks the 30th anniversary of ASU's Hispanic Convocation. The first Hispanic Convocation was held on May 12, 1984, and honored 49 participants. It was held off campus in the town of Guadalupe. The 30th anniversary will honor more than 300 students and will include live mariachis and the original Hispanic Convocation Committee. Joining me to talk about the anniversary is again Congressman Ed Pastor and Greg Acedo, student chair on the first Hispanic Convocation 3 decades ago. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us on Horizonte. You were both there at the beginning, at the creation, back in 1984. As we talk, we'll be running a few pictures. And as our audience will see, Congressman, you looked a little younger then. You were on the County Board of Supervisors.
At the time, yes.
How did you get involved in this effort?
Well, I was very, very much involved with a group called Los Diablos, the alumni, the Hispanic alumni. We're trying to form an organization that would fund scholarships. And so we were active with ASU. And when a group of students went to USC and saw the convocation, Hispanic convocation they held at USC, they came back and wanted to do something here at ASU. And obviously, I knew the students, and so when they came to me to see if I would help with the project, it was a natural thing to do.
And one of those students who went to USC, rather, Greg, that was you.
Yes.
And in fact, as I understand it, it was you're actually the source of the idea, because it was your cousin who was attending USC and said, "Come check this out."
Right. It was pretty interesting. Being an Arizona native, I'd never really traveled too much at that time. I was 19 years old at the time, and my cousin was attending the University of Southern California, and he said, you need to come out and see what they do out here to acknowledge accomplishments of the Latino students at USC. And so a group of us kids from different groups, HBSA, MECHA, we went out, took a road trip, and had an opportunity to see how they were celebrating the graduation ceremony at USC at the time.
One of the students, a good friend of yours, Gemma Duarte.
Gemma Duarte Luna.
Yeah,
Yes.
Gemma Duarte Luna was part of the group.
Yes.
Now, she looks as young now as she did then. I hope she's watching the show to hear that. So Greg, you guys got together. This took some planning.
It did. The idea of celebrating the same type of accomplishment at ASU was a kind of a seed crystal that came out of the Hispanic Business Student Association in partnership with MECHA. And then we began to design the project that would include and embrace all the student groups at ASU to get their support, obviously along with the support of Dr. Russell Nelson at the time and all the deans of all the colleges. So it took some logistics to pull it together in 2 semesters.
As I understand, it took some money, Congressman, which was one of the reasons people approached you to see if you could help raise some funds for it.
The answer was yes. Well, obviously there was going to be expenses. And so one of the challenges for me was once the student committee had an idea of what they wanted to do, and at that time I think they embraced the idea of taking it back to the community. And Guadalupe was the site, and our friend Lauro Garcia, who ran the Guadalupe organization, managed El Tianguis, which is a big open plaza, and conversations with him and the people from Guadalupe organization and the student group, that became the site. And so then once we're going to have a party, you need to have food. And so, the equipment, microphones and all that kind of stuff. So we raised the money for it.
And Greg, I've seen some video from that first one, and we've got some pictures that we hope to have up on the screen from the first couple of them. But my impression was an incredible success.
We didn't know what to expect, to be quite frank with you. It was an idea, I guess, whose time had come. We wanted to just acknowledge and celebrate and present role models to the kids that we were trying to, I guess, achieve their higher educations. But that first evening in Guadalupe 30 years ago was magical. I mean, it was a packed house. Ed was clearly instrumental in helping us pull together the final pieces of the plan that had come together. But more importantly, with the university in partnership with the beautiful community of Guadalupe, in partnership with all the students and their families, it was just an amazing evening.
Yeah, and we've got a picture now of some of the people who participated at the time. As I understand, one of the major participants was Dr. Cecilia Esquer. She was an advisor to your group as to how to get this done?
She was. Actually, we put together the white paper and the idea of what we were wanting to accomplish, but she became the primary faculty advisor for what we called the Hispanic Convocation Committee at the time.
And sadly, she passed away a few years ago, but her name now is going to be memorialized as part of the scholarship, an award rather, to outstanding undergraduate, which currently, or has been in the past, named after Jose Ronstadt, the first MC.
Yes.
And now it'll be both her name and his.
Yes, just again, what we've done over the 30 years of convocation is just taken every opportunity to acknowledge those leaders, mentors, stewards that have helped all of us students in our lives. Ed, Jose Ronstadt, and now Dr. Esquer. So it's just fitting.
And Congressman, the award that Greg was referring to is the one in your name,
Right.
that honors the outstanding graduate student. We're almost out of time. Anything about the events? I know it's grown. We're going to have more than 300 at this time. This year, I think there were 14,000 Hispanic students at ASU, so obviously scale is much better. But your final thoughts on the Hispanic Convocation and its importance to ASU and to the community?
Well, first of all, it personalizes the graduate so that the graduate, through a message, can give to the parents and to their family of gratitude and support.
And that seems to be the most important part.
It
the
is,
family.
because obviously it's a message on behalf of the graduate to the family saying, here I am standing only because of you and your sacrifices and your love.
And that's where we're going to have to end this interview. I'm sorry we're out of time, but it's a great event. Friday morning, 9 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Wells Fargo. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank
on
you very
Horizonte
much.
Talk.
Thank you.
That is our show for tonight from all of us here at Horizonte. I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.